Hello dear students, today we are going to learn about croup or laryngotracheobronchitis. Larynx is a hollow cartilaginous organ situated in the anterior neck from C3 to C6 vertebra connecting the pharynx to the trachea. It functions in phonation, airway protection and respiration. It consists of 9 cartilages, 3 are unpaired and 3 are paired. So the unpaired are thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and epiglottis. And the paired ones are arytenoid cartilages, corniculate cartilages, and cuneiform cartilages. Thyroid cartilage forms the Adam's apple, and the cricoid cartilage only cartilage which forms a complete ring of the in the trachea. Epiglottis guards the inlet of the larynx and prevents any aspiration during the swallowing. The vocal cords are the true folds within the larynx and produce the voice and regulate airflow. Intrinsic muscles of larynx control the vocal cord movements. However, the extrinsic muscle moves the larynx as a whole. Nerve supply of the larynx include the motor nerve supply by the recurrent laryngeal nerve, which supply all the intrinsic muscles of the larynx except the cricothyroid, which is supplied by the external superior laryngeal nerve. And the sensory supply to the larynx is by the internal superior laryngeal nerve. Trachea begins at the lower border of the cricoid cartilage at the level of C6 vertebra and extends to the carina at the intervertebral disc level between the T4 and T5 vertebra, where it divides into two main bronchi, the right and left main bronchi. Right main bronchus is wider, shorter and more vertical, and it is more prone to foreign body aspiration dislodgement. Left main bronchus is narrower, longer and more horizontal, and it passes under the aortic arch. Trachea consists of 16 to 20 C-shaped hyaline cartilaginous rings. Tracheal rings are posteriorly bridges with the trachealis muscle, which helps in the changes in the diameter of the trachea during the respiration. The mucosa of the trachea is lined by the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells, which helps in the mucociliary clearance from the trachea towards the nose. Now come to the definition of croup. Croup is an acute viral infection. It is not bacterial infection, it is a viral infection which causes the inflammation and edema of larynx, trachea and bronchi and leading to the barking cough, hoarseness of voice and inspiratory stridor. It is the most common cause of acute stridor in the children. Viruses commonly associated with the croup are parainfluenza virus, type 1 especially. In some cases type 2 and 3 are also seen, and occasionally respiratory syncytial virus, influenza A and B virus, adenovirus, measles virus can also be associated with the croup. Sometimes superinfections with bacteria can also be seen in croup, especially as bacterial tracheitis. Common age of presentation is around 6 months to 3 years, slightly male predominance, and it is more common in the autumn and early winter season. Transmission from person to person occurs with the respiratory droplets or fomites. Incubation period around 2 to 4 days. Pathophysiology involves the infection of the virus in the trachea, larynx or bronchi, which causes inflammation of the subglottic mucosa below the vocal cords, and it causes the narrowing of the airway. This narrowing causes the increase in the resistance of the airway, which produces inspiratory stridor and barking cough, followed by edema and mucus secretion, which also increases airway resistance and produces airflow turbulence and obstruction. Clinical features include gradual onset of upper respiratory tract symptoms like coryza, low-grade fever, sore throat, followed by characteristic barking cough or seal-like cough, hoarseness of voice, inspiratory stridor, which may become biphasic if severe, and respiratory distress from mild to severe. This respiratory distress becomes worse at night. Systemic signs are usually less as compared to epiglottis, and child look less toxic or not look as toxic as seen in epiglottitis. Classification by severity include mild grade, moderate grade, and severe grade, and the impending respiratory failure. Mild grade include the occasional barking cough without a stridor. Moderate include the frequent cough with stridor even at rest, with mild chest retractions. Severe cases include the marked stridor, severe retraction, and agitation. Impending respiratory failure is associated with the lethargy, cyanosis, reduced air entry in the lungs. Differential diagnosis include epiglottitis, bacterial tracheitis, foreign body aspiration, and allergic laryngitis. In epiglottitis, child looked toxic with sudden onset of high-grade fever with drooling of saliva and muffled hot potato voice without any cough or minimal cough. On X-ray, a thumb sign can be seen. In bacterial tracheitis, child looked toxic with purulent secretions, poor response to nebulized adrenaline. Foreign body aspiration presents with the history of choking, coughing without any fever, and uh, there is history that parents give that he was or she was eating some peanuts or taking coin in mouth. In allergic laryngitis, there is history of allergen exposure. Now coming to the investigations. Investigations are usually not required because croup is a clinical diagnosis, and throat examination should be avoided, especially in severe cases, because it can produce sudden respiratory distress or respiratory tract obstruction. Neck X-ray can be done, which can show the steeple sign, that is the tapering of the subglottic trachea, and in this picture we can see this steeple, like this is steeple sign, as we can see the steeple of the church. Here we can see this air. If you can look here, there is the tapering. This is the trachea, and here is the tapering of the air, and uh, this is the subglottic area, and here is the tapered air, which can be seen as a steeple sign in croup patients. CBC can show mild leukocytosis. Management include general measures. Try to keep the child calm and avoid agitation, because crying can worsen the obstruction. Keep the child in the parent's lap in the upright position. Give humidified oxygen in cases of hypoxic patients. Specific treatment include use of nebulized adrenaline, either racemic or levorotatory adrenaline. It can be given in moderate to severe croup patients. Adrenaline causes the vasoconstrictions of the blood vessels of the larynx, trachea, and bronchi, which causes reduction in the edema, and it relieves the respiratory tract obstruction. The observable effect usually seen after 2 to 3 hours of post nebulization period. Second therapy is corticosteroids, especially the dexamethasone or nebulized budesonide. These drugs also reduce the edema, and they are also helpful in reduction of the relapses. Nebulized budesonide effective only in mild to moderate cases, and dexamethasone is a more potent drug which is helpful in patients with all severity. Oxygen therapy is required if SpO2 falls below 92%, and oxygen can be given by blow-by method, especially, or by nasal prongs. Intubation is required especially in patients where impending respiratory failure is suspected, and as compared to acute epiglottitis patient, the chances of intubation are very less. Antibiotics are not indicated because it is caused by viral etiology unless there is any secondary bacterial infection is suspected. Prognosis is excellent with supportive care. Symptoms usually resolve within 3 to 7 days of the treatment. Recurrence can occur, especially when there is atopy or subglottic narrowing. Prevention can be done by the use of influenza and measles vaccination in cases which are caused by the influenza and measles virus. And most important is maintaining the good hand hygiene and infection control during outbreaks. Key differences between croup and epiglottitis. Croup occurs gradually, epiglottitis occurs suddenly, and there is barking cough in croup which is absent in epiglottitis patient. Drooling of saliva is predominant symptom in epiglottitis patient, and hoarseness of voice is seen in croup patient, and muffled hot potato voice is seen in epiglottitis patient. Fever is usually of low grade in croup, and it is high grade in epiglottitis, and patient look more toxic in epiglottitis. X-ray sign include steeple sign in croup, thumb sign in epiglottitis. Causative organisms are viral infection, especially the parainfluenza virus in croup, and bacterial infection like Haemophilus influenzae B is the most important causative organism in epiglottitis. Threat of airway obstruction is mild to moderate in croup patients, and it is severe, and thus the epiglottitis is a medical emergency because it can precipitate airway obstruction in most of the patients. Now coming to the spasmodic croup. Spasmodic croup is a sudden recurrent episode of barking cough and stridor which seen especially in night in young children, and it is seen around the age of 1 to 3 years. Child usually awakes at night with barking and metallic cough with noisy inspiration. There is no history of fever, no history of viral prodrome. Child appears anxious, frightened, and has respiratory distress. Symptoms usually improve within few hours, and a child is well by morning, except for slight hoarseness. Recurrences can be seen, and etiology is multifactorial and not exactly defined. It can be viral, allergic, or any hyperreactivity of airway. Management include keeping the child calm, give humidified air, and dexamethasone can be used along with nebulized adrenaline in severe cases. And the prognosis of a spasmodic group is excellent with full recovery and no residual airway damage. So that is all for today. Thank you.